obligation as well. All this has finally come into play. Township insurances, just like anything else for all of our vehicles and so on and so forth, it was up. It goes up this year about 120,000. And again, we went over in the beginning our debt services for our bonds, 2013 and the 2014 bond that we're doing will impact in 2015. So therefore, debt services are up. So you look at it, when we start talking about a 2.81% tax increase, pretty remarkable when you're looking at already, we're looking at over $1.8 million. Again, it's driving. Action plan, again, we'll continue to consolidate, looking to consolidate services. This year we were lucky enough to, and we had a very good relationship with Penn. We looked outside the box and we consolidated services, had a big impact of over $400,000 to this township this year. Without having any negative effects. In fact, already we're seeing a big improvement in responses in the upper end of Haverford Township by having a vehicle housed out of Ardmore Avenue. We continue to have a reduction in workforce, part-time. Again, we reduced 1 FTE in the Human Resources Department. Enhancing recycling benefits, we have to continue to do that. We'll continue to work with Marple Township with the LEAF program. That alone has been extremely beneficial in our savings. Historically, we would pay well over $130,000 to $140,000 a year. Last year, $35,000. Big significant change. And again, that has to do with working together with our neighbors in Marple. As I said in the beginning, we have a new partner with our brine program. Now we'll help pay for some of the salt as well as the water supply and doing exactly what we wanted to do. And now we have a new partner, Upper Darby Township. And Upper Darby Township residents will get the benefit of having the roads brined before the storms. Again, some of the other actions that we've implemented over the years have had a big impact on that. And the last thing there at the bottom is where we do a public and private partnership. In essence, that's what we did with Penn. And I'll be traveling, and I won't mention the township, but it'll be outside of Delaware County, but I'll be speaking myself and Mr. McCann's. Was invited by 3 municipal governments in Chester County to speak to them about how we were able to develop this public and private partnership with the Penn Health System. So it, as I said earlier, in the year, these type of programs are going to expand. What's in store? This slide has not changed, at least the way I put it together over the last few years. These things are always going to be there. 2 big concerns that I have is obviously, and you know, everyone in this room is aware of it, and that is our infrastructure. We have, not only do we have flooding concerns, flooding problems, but we have an aging infrastructure. We have made a lot of progress in addressing the infrastructure, and we've had a lot of unscheduled maintenance that we've invested a lot of funds to make those improvements, but unfortunately, they're not going to go away. The building maintenance will go away once we start to get the new municipal services building up. Some of our costs associated with having satellite buildings will go away. Some of our utility costs will streamline as well. So that will go away. Tax appeals have been a problem over the last few years, majority, and I won't get specific on who, but we've had 2 big impacts on tax appeals, and there is one business, obviously, that this board is aware that will actually have a $80,000, Amy? $80,000 impact in revenues that we will lose because that one particular business is leaving the township. So these are things that we'll continue to be faced with. And the last is, and I'll go over it relatively quickly again, all of the 2015 capital improvements that you see there will still have to come to this board. They're in the budget, but these are 2015 capitals. Very quickly, we've made some major changes. Obviously, our emergency vehicles, we purchased some emergency vehicles in 2014. That's relating to police and paramedic vehicles, as well as the ambulances, but the ambulances will be paid back in 2 years by the Penn Health system. Infrastructure improvements that we made are those listed there. We've already started with the combined municipal services building, some engineering studies, and our staff are meeting and going through with committees to address those. We're completing our 2014 road program this year, which was a small one compared to other years, but we did make some impact, and we've done a pretty good job over the last few years. Financing issues, again, bond payment to our agent, bond issuing cost, and that has to do with the 10 million bond that we just completed. And our park improvements, obviously, we have all new pavilions that I stated under the park recreations, and we have 2 new bathrooms that are up, but one of them is not up yet. We're still waiting for a right-of-way agreement from SEPTA, but there are some big improvements. So you can see the amount of money, the capital money that we invested in 2014, and you can see what we have planned there for in 2015. Again, all of those improvements would still have to come before this board before we make any improvements there. And last but not least, if
Board has any questions?
the board has any questions, I'll be glad to go over any specifics. I can go back on any particular line item you have, or questions and concerns regarding the proposed budget before you.
My question was going to be on the one-day-a-week trash, so I think you kind of handled that one already.
Mr. President?
Larry?
Mr. Gentili, have any department heads alerted to you since the preliminary budget has been created of any additional needs that either they didn't anticipate or that you turned down, and they have raised any serious issues?
Yes, that would be, the only one would be the police department is looking for, specifically would be impact for the police department, would impact the highway department or public works, Mr. Doherty's department. And they are do not block the box. There are some intersections that we, unfortunately, they're state highways, and PennDOT defers a lot of that now. They gave us permission to put up do not block the box in I believe four intersections.
I assume one of them's Darby and Hathaway right here.
It is not. I don't believe it is.
No, it's Darby, Manoa.
Westchester Pike and, yeah,
No, I'm sorry, not Darby, Manoa. Westchester Pike and Manoa, Westchester Pike and Eagle.
yes.
Glengarry.
Yeah, and Glengarry.
There was some in his ward, too. There were some in Larry's.
Right, and what's the other one?
Township line in Arlington.
Township Line and Arlington are the 4.
Yes. That came to me after the budget was already completed and before you. Unfortunately, they are state roads, and I have mixed feelings about them, but the PennDOT has authorized, and it's just a new way to do it now, they authorize you, you can go ahead and put them up, but you got to fund it and you got to maintain it. That impact would be approximately $20,000.
I'm sorry. It's currently against the law to block the box, right? Mm-hmm. And that's a moving violation, right? If you go halfway through the intersection and sit there in a red light. Mm-hmm. So do we have any issues on enforcement of that? Have we been enforcing that at all?
You want to get up there, Chief? I'm sorry.
We're trying to enforce it, but a police car has to be there to witness it.
Right, of course.
The theory is that if there's lines painting the road, drivers would be more cognizant that they're not to do that.
And where the cost,
So we're thinking about signage as well as lines.
Lines and signage, that's correct.
we would have to purchase stencils, we'd have to purchase the paint, but the major cost are the signs. And there are signs that we can't make in-house. There are signs that have to be purchased through municipal warehouse. And unfortunately, the signs are the majority of the expense.
Mr. President, can I piggyback off of this?
Yeah, go ahead.
This has been a major issue all along Westchester Pike, and I know in some of the other intersections.
Mm-hmm.
And I view it as a safety issue. And I would like to see it in the budget, but it's not up to me, it's up to all of us. I think the lines do somehow make people cognizant, or drivers cognizant, that they should not block the box. It's helped on Eagle Road with the lines, the striped lines, keeping the vehicles more towards the center of Eagle Road, where we had, as you know, Chief, significant accidents along that stretch of highway from,
Yeah, it does. I'll agree with you. It does work. We've seen it on Eagle Road. We've seen it in crosswalks where we put crosswalks
But
in.
crosswalks,
If you
right.
put a crosswalk in, like we did along Upland and other places, the cars were coming up to the stop sign and rolling through, and then kids were trying to walk down Manoa Road.
Right.
And what happened was we put those in, and people are stopping before the crosswalk. So they're not leaning the car out into the intersection, and people can cross safely. So those are some of the things that I've seen with line painting.
Have we ruled out the availability of state money for this?
Yes.
Have we sought it?
I don't think there's any,
They won't,
the state, won't-
okay.
yeah.
They said we can do it, but we have to maintain ownership.
Is there, I'm sorry.
Right, but I'm thinking just in terms of grant money. I'm thinking of whether or not, I mean, there's more to it than just putting down the lines and the signs. Obviously, it's enforcing it. There's repainting the lines. There's, to the extent signs come down. My question is, it's wonderful the state has dumped this on us, but has anybody asked anybody on the state whether any funds are this available? We checked with any of our representatives.
Sergeant Scott, I checked into that, and there's no grant money for that. And the state's not willing to put up any money for it.
I mean, this impacts my ward, Dan's ward, Mario's ward, your ward, Commissioner, some of you,
Chris's word.
everywhere. Chris, yours?
Township line, if Upper Darby, would they be willing to
Share.
share anything there? That I know it's only one intersection, but
Well, we can also look at Vermont Road as well.
Vermont Road, yeah.
Check.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, the worst intersections are those that the chief mentioned.
Well, they're all bad, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's-
understand.
They're in
But
my ward,
to-
too, but, I mean,
To go to those 4 intersections, see if it works over a period of time, and then move that throughout the township if it should work.
I'm okay with that.
If it does not, if it doesn't prevent people or stop it, then we don't waste any more money.
I agree. I agree with that.
We're the worst of the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, those are the
Well,
ones where we have the
when
heaviest
is it
traffic.
we plan? When would we undertake to do this? I mean, is this a spring? Is
Yeah,
this a project
they-
that
it
happens in
certainly
2000?
would, yeah. As of right now, we're pretty much at a shutdown anyway because of the leaf collection this year.
and it's going to be winter, and you're
yeah,
going to be
so
able
we-
to paint
we
anyway.
really-
Look, in 2 days, we're going to have representatives or actual members of our General Assembly with us on some other issues we're going to be dealing with. We could certainly take them in the back room and rubber hose these people until they give us some money
Take
for
them
this
to the
stuff.
woodshed or.
Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, this is, at any time during the year, people can come to this board and say, we need to spend 20 grand on this project, and, this board can approve it. And I mean, budgets, we set the budgets now. If we're not going to do this program until at least the spring of 2015.
I think the
would
earliest
suggest
would be
we take-
sometime in April.
Yeah,
The
I
other
would
thing-
suggest we take the time in the meanwhile to investigate whether or not there's any money available, investigate what any other municipalities did, pressure the state to provide us
I
money.
agree. I think, you worked really hard on this budget to get it to the 2.8, whatever, or 8.1,
And then if
whatever.
we have to do it, we do it.
I say, wait on it, see what happens.
Well, there's nothing to say that we can't continue to look for grant money. I mean, we'll continue to look outside the box. The one thing I will tell you, even if we had the money, we wouldn't be able to do it on Westchester, anywhere on Westchester Pike right now, because PennDOT and their resurfacing program, they have to come back out. Correct. That's why all the line painting's not done. They've already alerted us there will be no additional
When are
work.
they painting the lines, Larry?
They won't be out until in the spring.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, just that it's not a project we can start in January. It's not something, we don't know what kind of savings we'll have in the budget as we go through the year. I mean, these things are projected things for the year. We might not have the winter everyone is talking about. And let's face it, every person predicting a bad winter knows exactly as much as I do about the weather. So,
Cecily Tiny knows a little more.
and it could be we could find ourselves, with $25,000 of, money we had squirreled away for 3 or 4 rounds of salt, for the kind of money we spend on overtime to deal with storms. We don't have that stuff. We'll have $20,000 to do this job without having to mess with this budget.
I don't think we're messing with putting $20,000 in it. What would it raise it to?
I couldn't be able to.
$20,000 more dollars.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I don't-
you know what I'm
I
talking
would
about.
have to-
I mean, this is a real safety issue. This is a real problem in these intersections. And I think if we don't put it
I
in
know,
the
but we
budget,
can't do anything till April.
Intersection, though.
it's
we
not every
can't do
intersection.
these.
There are major intersections that have issues.
I
Well,
got
this is
major
a
intersections
disaster
in my
right
ward
here.
that have
I
it.
mean,
Okay, then put it in
Darby and
your ward.
Landover. No, I don't think it's necessary right
But,
now.
You can't just want to keep a budget at, I understand what you're saying, but.
Yeah, no, but all I'm saying, Mr. D'Amelio, is there's no way this can happen till the spring. And,
Right.
and
Then we have the
by
money in there.
April 30, we know whether or not we've spent a fortune on the anticipated, snow costs and winter costs we expect. If we overspend, we have to approve additional expenditures. And if we underspend, we don't have to approve them. Larry just has to tell us he's letting out the contract and we do it.
Mr. President. Go ahead. Signs and painting of the streets aside. You can have all the signs and all the lines painted. Unless we're out there enforcing, it's not going to be effective at all.
Enforcement first.
So we can start enforcing now, and I would ask that we start take those 4 intersections, ask our police chief and our police department to aggressively enforce the current restrictions that we have without the lines, without the extra signs. The reality is, you could put a police officer at every stop sign in your ward every morning in school. It's the biggest complaint that you get. And unless they're out there with a presence and enforcing it, it's not going to happen anyway. Because we get used to the signs, we get used to the selective at one stop sign, 1 day a week, every other week, and it has an effect a long time. They'll stop and look to see if they're there that day. But unless they're there, it's not going to you have to, active enforcement, fines and penalties, tickets is the way it's going to do. So we can actually control what we want to now before we have to go out and spend the money for the signs and the striping in the spring, so.
Police
but
have
like
been
the-
very
the-
active in that.
But like the chief said, you can't always put a car there every morning, and enforcement is good when you have the officer there. However, there's signs all over the place for speed limit, for telling you that there's a turn in the road, for telling you everything else. So the sign there will let people know when an officer isn't there that you don't block the intersection. So it's part of the enforcement. It's part of the
I agree.
process.
We've got enough signs in one block anymore between speed limits, permit parking, wheel humps, speed bumps that have been put in. You go down one of our residential streets, you got 6 or 7 signs possibly between 3 and 4 houses. So I think the drivers have become immune to recognizing the sign unless there's a police
There
officer.
was an article in
It's-
the Inquirer about Philadelphia using that, and that's why they do it, because it really has, the block-to-box signs and the paint has eliminated a lot of that.
I go to Manhattan and I sit in
Well, that's Manhattan. I'm talking about
Philadelphia too. You're stuck in an intersection.
I
Sign or
drove
not,
through Philadelphia many
except the
times.
bus stops, you're stuck in the intersection. You
Well,
can't.
It's part of the evolution of heads-up display. Signs will be gone, and we'll all have a heads-up display. But until we get to that point, we still have to put signs up. And I think that's part of the enforcement.
But we can't spend a nickel on this till April or May. But starting right now, the police could
yeah.
enforce a couple
That's
areas.
what I'm saying.
And let us know whether or not they wrote 20 tickets in the last month on this issue or 0. The same people ride on that road every day. And it may not be the same people blocking the box, but the same people are riding on that road every day. They see a police presence and people getting pulled over, and they're
That's
going
a
to
sign.
start to pay more attention. And then in April, if we have the money, let's do it. And if we don't have the money and enforcement hasn't been useful, we'll do it then.
Do we have something right now, the signs, the electronic signs on the highway? Maybe we could put them out there when there's an officer out there. So we already have the
Whatever-
the trailer
Yeah,
that
you
has
put
the
whatever
electronic
message on it you
sign for the message board.
Oh, yeah.
So we already have it, so maybe we can presently,
Don't block the box on it.
exactly,
Block the box, and then
along
write a
when the
ticket.
officer is there.
How many we have? We only have one, right?
Yeah, we
Yeah, we have
one, Chief?
3.
We
have
started
two?
the intersection.
Rotate.
We have 1, we have 2, we have 3. We actually had 3. We own 1. We have 2 from the county, but 1 was damaged. So we were down to 2.
Or rotate them.
Makes some sense.
rotate them.
Yeah, okay.
I'll do 50% of those 4-bed intersections along Westchester Pike. And switch them.
Yeah, and again, this isn't
Where
a
are they now? You
suggestion that
haven't
we're
put
not
them
going to
out?
do it.
They
You
put them
had one on
out.
Haverford
Yeah, they
Road
did.
last,
Being used here and there.
yeah, there was
They
one there last
rotated around. It
week.
was on Haverford Township, they saw them out, along Darby Road, they had them out for speed.
They did on Haverford, it was good. I drive that road every night.
Well,
Told me my speed.
I'm going to just reiterate what I said. I think it should be in a budget. I think we should budget for it, have it in there. I think it's a safety issue, but I guess I'm alone on that.
Well, I think, if I may.
Budgeting it.
I've done, my staff, not just me, but my staff continues to do a phenomenal job. They've proven themselves over the last few years. And I'm pretty confident, again, if, come spring, we'll do whatever we can in our power to
Yeah.
address that.
This is not a vote of this board not to undertake this program. It's a vote of this board right now whether this line item needs to be added to this budget.
Correct.
It doesn't mean we can't do it.
Correct.
Yeah. So
Correct.
even
Exactly
if we don't
that we put it
on
in the
now.
budget.
No, not putting it in the budget doesn't mean we can't do it. Okay? The whole, the budget isn't every single expenditure the police department makes. The police department tells Larry they think they're going to spend this much, or Public Works thinks they're going to spend this much this year. In April, if they're on target, we may need to come up with a way to find more money. If they're not, they can spend it however they see fit. And, if the contract requires more than $10,000, it still has to come to us anyway. So
Okay.
I just, it isn't this, I don't want the public to think that we're saying we're not going to do this. What we're saying is an expenditure that can't take place before April. And we don't know what the winter's going to cost us, and we don't know if enforcement's going to help this problem. Isn't worth adding to the budget right now.
Okay. All right. I think the horse has been beaten.
But I want to make sure that you understand that the police have been out there.
Yep.
It's not like they haven't. They've been out there.
Have the police issued tickets to people who are blocking the box, Chief?
Yes, we have.
Okay.
I don't have the number for you, but we do selective enforcement there.
Some aggressive enforcement over the next couple of months, and then we'll,
I'll put the
We'll see
sign
how
out
that
there.
works out.
We'll do some education, we'll do some enforcement.
I think if you make an example of any commissioner here who blocks the box, and then a story gets written about it, it might get some people to change the way they do things.
I'd go as far as give Steve a marked car, let him sit there and enforce it, because I agree, it is a safety issue. I just sat on the pike, come from Newtown Square to this meeting. It took me 40-plus minutes to get through. I mean, it was crawling. There's a ton of traffic coming this way at night and in the morning. You go to the Blue Route in the morning, you're stuck in the middle of intersections whether you want to be or not. It's just,
Yeah, but people can't get out of my ward, Dan's ward. You can't even
Right,
get
that's-
across to
can't
get
even
into
sit.
those lanes.
you can sit at Manoa Road, coming
Manoa
across
Road's
Westchester
another one.
Pike
anywhere
for
between the shopping
Forever.
center.
4 or
and the Blue
5
Route coming
traffic
out, you
lights,
can't
and
get through.
buses stop right in the middle of the intersection.
I mean,
and nobody can
this
get
is a
by.
real issue
You
for
block
our
the box, and then
residents.
The traffic going the other direction on Manoa Road can't go. So the traffic backs up along Manoa Road, and until it gets to Darby.
But I can assure you that every single one of those SEPTA drivers knows full well that that's against the law, okay? They don't need a sign to know that
giving
they
the
shouldn't
SEPTA
be
drivers
parking in
tickets.
an intersection at a red light. They're doing it anyway, okay? I mean, and until somebody pays a ticket for that, it's not going to change.
You got to ticket them.
Yeah,
I would ask that we call the roll to see if we can put it as a line item.
sure.
Would you like to call a roll on that?
I would ask.
Yeah, there's no motion.
Can I make a motion then?
You need to move, I've moved this
Yeah.
budget, so you need to move
Okay.
to amend this budget to add that extra, how much do they want?
20,000.
$20,000 to the Public Works thing, and then then I have to be okay with your amendment.
So do
Then
I,
whoever
actually.
seconded it has to be okay with it,
You seconded it?
and then we have to vote on
No, I
it.
haven't done it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So you would have to be
You
okay with
second.
Larry and, okay,
Yeah.
you can amend it.
Mr. Chairman, I ask that we amend this budget by $20,000, adding this line item for do not block the box lines in every intersection that has significant issues.
Okay. I do wish our solicitor were here, because I'm not going to accept the amendment.
I wasn't going to accept the
I
second.
don't know what
so-
the consequence of that is, other than
I
he
apologize.
can make his
'cause
own motion.
I told Mr. Byrne not
Well, you
not
tell
to
me
come
how you-
tonight.
All
I
right,
told him not to come.
No, but I think then, if I've said no to that amendment, I think